Hi, hello everyone. Hello. So I'm just setting this up here. Welcome everyone to TWF, and today we are going to talk about Svelte. I hope you guys can hear me fine. This is my first time using OBS, all this live streaming stuff, so I hope everything is okay. Hope you enjoyed the music before before we started. Um, just wanted to quickly ask you, everyone that is watching right now. I just posted in the chat, and I can see the chat here. I posted a link for a poll. If you could go there and vote, I just wanted to have a little bit of like an idea of what's your front end experience. If you are very experienced, if you are just um, looking into the front end technologies right now. So we will go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to start my presentation. In the beginning, I'm going to start just with a very simple PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to go through some hot topics, let's say quick topics as well, about Svelte and how it compares to other frameworks and so on. I'm going to show you, a, giving you a little bit of an introduction, right? And after that, we'll move on to the demo. So today, what I planned to do was actually, instead of showing you a bunch of like slides and showing you maybe pieces of code or images or websites that are working with Svelte, I decided to just uh, go ahead and do a demo for you guys, and we will go from the beginning, like grabbing the Svelte template, starting a brand new project, and from there we'll see. Like we'll go through some of the main features. I want you to see as well how a developer goes on, like in creating the project and so on. So without further ado, I'm gonna start then the PowerPoint presentation now, and here we go. So yet another JavaScript framework, right? I mean, nowadays we have so many options. We have React, we have Vue.js, we have Angular, and now comes Svelte. So I'm going to just try to at least make you excited about this framework, right? And to get you guys, into this, and or at least trying to understand more about Svelte and how it works and why it's actually so exciting and why am I here today to go through this and show this to you guys. All right. So first of all, just a quick about the Way Forward community. Please join us. Today it's my presentation. The next times you will have many other different topics. I believe that the last time we had a topic about digital nomads and things like that. So very interesting stuff that you can hear about in the Way Forward conferences and presentations. Now with COVID times, we know that this is a bit tricky, right? This whole situation. This used to be a local event that everyone would gather and share ideas and so on. Well, right now we need to adjust to the situation, right, and move on with this, right? So just a little bit about myself, right? I am Vitor Antonio. I'm a senior consultant at Avanade. Here's my links if you want to check me out. I'm not very active on Twitter. I basically just go and like posts and things like that. This is my LinkedIn as well if you want to connect and reach out, and as well as my email. And at the end of the presentation, I will also give a link to my GitHub where you can go and later on see um, a repository that it was basically my playground for Svelte, and that I'm doing a couple of things there. So yeah, this is pretty much it. About me. I think we can move on and go to the fun stuff. So, um, just give me a second because I'm having some feedback here. Um, I don't know why I'm having some feedback. Just give me a sec. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can hear that. At least I'm having some feedback on my audio right now, but okay, I will try to pull through to that. If you guys can hear me and if you don't have also the feedback, then we are good to go. Um, so yeah, so let's go and go here to my list of the things that I want to go today with you. So why to pick up Svelte? Why is it interesting? Then I'm going to show you what exactly is Svelte, if it's really a framework, if it's not, and go through a couple of these things. Then I want to, of course, compare it to the other frameworks, the most known ones like Angular, React, and Vue.js, right? And some of the pros and cons, because not everything about Svelte is a great thing, right? There are a couple of cons here, so we'll try to go through some of them, and also a little bit about the road ahead. What can we expect about Svelte in the next couple of months? How the development is going, and so on and so on, right? So that's is pretty much it, like the agenda that we have for today, or that I have planned for today. So what is Svelte? So basically, Svelte, yes, it is a web framework. It's not exactly one framework that it's the same as the other ones. It's particularly different. So this was developed by a very cool guy named Rich Harris. So Rich Harris, he's a graphics editor at the New York Times, and basically he had this idea that all of the other frameworks, and he works with a lot of graphic intensive front end UIs, right? And basically, the other frameworks were not good enough for him, so he needed to always use a bunch of like vanilla JS and your pure JavaScript to actually do and be performant as he wanted, right? So he came up with this idea that instead of having like a full-fledged framework, he decided to build something powerful as like a compiler. So basically, Svelte is basically a compiler in itself because compared to the other JavaScript frameworks, with Angular, with React and Vue, most of these web frameworks, they basically, when you ship them to the browser, when they are bundled and they go to the browser, yes, it's not just your code that goes there. It's not just what you programmed and what you coded. So it also goes like the Angular runtime that needs to handle all of these things, um, like the bindings, all these kind of features that the frameworks are giving to you, right? So this is being passed on to the browser as well. With Self, we are actually taking not so much of this stuff, like of these runtimes and so on, to the compiler, to the browser, sorry, but we are mostly just passing on what we coded. So the bundle sizes of like our, web applications will actually be smaller, which is actually a great thing. So the thing that what Svelte does is like the compiler analyzes your code, your Svelte component, right? And it generates a very specific type of like JavaScript, like the specific type because like I have in one of my points here, like it has instructions that will later help you with reactivity and things like this. So it updates the DOM nodes very, surgically, very in very little detail there to that specific case. And why am I talking about, all of these details about updating surgically and stuff like this, because this is actually quite important, and because of one thing, the virtual DOM. So this is one of the things that actually Rich, when he was coming up with the, with Svelte and so on, um, when he was coming up with all these things, what he decided was that virtual DOM is actually the problem here. And why? Um, because we need to do a lot of computation to do the changes. So the thing about React, Vue, and also Angular, although like Angular uses like a different kind of it's incremental DOM. Let's say it's a different strategy, right? Um, with the virtual DOM is like used by React and Vue. So it basically we have like uh, it compares the differences, right? It compares what was changed, and then it computes. It has this algorithm, the diff algorithm, basically, that compares the versions of this virtual DOM and then re-renders it, and then it applies it to the real DOM, right? This is more or less like a high level view of the how the virtual DOM is working, right? So with this, we have quite a big memory footprint, because we need to kind of have these copies of the virtual DOM there, yes, and we need to then compare them and then check and see what it's actually changing. So basically, let's imagine that we have like on the top element we have a div, and basically we are going to change actually a node inside here that is like an input box, yes, an input tag. And what it does later on is basically it goes and checks, does the div change? No. Does the header element there change? No. Does the input tag or the input element change? Yes. So it changes. So you see, like, and it goes on like this for as many elements as we have on our DOM tree, right? So this diagram actually, and you can see it then later on the source that I have here, like how it works in more detail, right? So this was one of the things that Rich, when he was building Svelte, um, one of the things that we wanted to tackle, right? So I know that React.js is not like framework. I know, I just think it's framework because it's general idea. I understand that it's like a library. I understand that, yes, but it's just like in the general knowledge, everyone comes and says at least it's the JS frameworks, right? This is what I meant by that comment. Yes. So one of the things about Svelte that I actually pretty excited about is no virtual DOM or incremental DOM. So incremental DOM for Angular and virtual DOM for React and Vue.js. So it's truly reactive. We don't have any more virtual DOM or incremental DOM to worry about in here. So this is one of the key things about Svelte, that we don't need to have a virtual DOM to actually create reactivity and have a reactive application. In our app will be reactive, let's say. So one of the nice things that when I was checking Svelte and looking at this stuff and the things and the features of it, I was looking also at the pros and cons, and I came up with actually comments like this: feels good. Like when you think about it, like us developers, when you see some like comments like this, that it feels good, and I don't know, for me, I kind of started to think about this, and then it must be like doing something very right, because not just okay, it might be faster, it might be smaller, other things that the other frameworks or the other libraries you know don't give to us, or they give to us but with a lot of like overhead. It's nice to feel, and this is one of the things also about Svelte that I really like. So my background, actually, I came from the C Sharp world. I started my development as a in C Sharp, yes, and then later I came on and I became like a front end developer, but using Angular. So Angular was actually my entry point in the front end world, let's say. Um, then like I started to look at the other options that I had, React and Vue.js. I didn't, to be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with Vue.js because, work and other things. I would love to have time to test all of the other frameworks, right? But unfortunately, I can't. But I tested React as well, and pretty satisfied also how it was with my experience with React. And as we can see, this is also like you guys can visit this link and check for yourselves and stuff like this, like this NPM trends. So this is on the past 6 months, the amount of downloads that each one of these technologies they had. So we can see that React is like everyone loves React, and React is really, really popular right now. Vue.js is also like the second most popular, it seems, right now at the moment. And Angular, unfortunately, I'm quite a fan of Angular because it was since I'm the one that I'm most experienced on, right? And and it's the one that I use in my everyday work right now. So it's a bit sad to see that Angular is losing the popularity that it had a couple of years ago. The Angular team has also been in quite of a struggle recently as well because some people are leaving and so on. But okay, um, we can see here as well that with Svelte was created in 2016, but it seems that it's already getting some traction, at least with some good amount of downloads. It's still, of course, not used in big companies. It's not very popular at the moment, but every framework, every library has its beginnings, right? Um, so what I also wanted you to have a look here is the size. So this is like the bundle size. As you can see, React, it's 2.8 kilobytes, and Svelte is 1.5. So Svelte is really, really small in terms of like the bundle size and things like this. Vue.js comes like with 22.9 and Angular with 62.3. Unfortunately, the thing about Angular is also that you also need to consider that Angular comes with everything already included. With React and Vue, React, you need to bring down the router and so on. You can, of course, use Next, which is like application framework using React, right? Um, well, Angular already has a lot of things built into it. And Angular is mostly used for like big applications, like full-fledged that have many modules and many things that then you can later separate them basically. So also I see that we are already 20 minutes in, so I'm trying to be fast on the slides at least. So this is another one that I wanted you guys to see, and I also left the link there because it's a really cool website that you can actually see the performance of these the different frameworks and libraries. So what I want you to look at is the Svelte here on the left-hand side, and then comparing it to Preact, Vue, Angular, version 8 and 10 as well, and React 17. So we know that React is like very lightweight version of React, right? But even so, I'm looking at the geometric mean here, the last value, so it's like an average of all the values before. Svelte is even faster. So, which is one of the nicest things about this. And yeah, and we will see right now after I start the demo. I'm going to start with the demo and I'm going to go step by step with you guys. Probably I will not manage to go through like everything. on the demo right now. I'll try to do my best and try to show you as much as I can, right? So this is Svelte website. So if you want to get started on Svelte, what I really suggest you to do is just simply go to the website and go through the main tutorial. It's so well done. Like I'm surprised that they come up with such a nice way of like showing us and giving us a very nice tutorial if we want to kick started with Svelte. So right now I'm going on and start with the demo, and hopefully everything will go fine. We'll see like what can go wrong with with the live demo, right? So uh, I'm going to go here and start then with VS Code. I think that most of you are like familiar with VS Code and the development and so on, or you guys can use whatever you want. Like I'm going to be using right today VS Code, and I'm going to go through the steps here on how to start with Svelte. Basically, as we could see here, this is the way that I'm going to actually start here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this script here to my machine. And in our case, we are going to name this TWF demo. So basically, we run this command to basically bring on the Svelte.js template that the Svelte team managed to get it ready for us to kickstart with our development. So I'm going to go ahead, and by the way, if you want to dig it, it's basically to just remove Git from like this this repo. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the demo folder, right? Then the next step, we are going to install our dependencies, right? So we are going to do npm install. There we go. It's installing. There we go. And installed everything. So later on, I will need to do another npm install just for like a plugin to help me handle with some JSON data that I have. But for now, we can already go ahead and do npm run dev. So here we go. This is listening on the port for me. So there we go. So localhost, and I'm gonna go ahead and there we go. So this is our app right now. It's running, and I'm gonna go ahead and actually slide this on the side, and I'm going to put here Visual Studio Code on this side. So I hope this is okay for you guys. I hope that you guys can see it. I'm going to go ahead and select the main.js and the app Svelte, and I'm going to adjust a little bit the size so you guys can see it properly in your screens. Let me know on the chat if on the YouTube chat if everything is fine, if you guys can see it, or if you want me to zoom in a little bit more or not. So this is our source folder. We have the node modules folder. We have a public folder that then later will contain our build. So like when our application is built, we have the usual suspects like the global CSS, the index HTML here. Then we have a folder of a bunch of scripts that Svelte is using here. Nothing right now to worry about. All right, so I will zoom in a little bit more. All right, so we have here on the beginning, we have here two files. So we have the main.js. So this is actually our entry point to our Svelte application. So this is our where we basically create our app, and then you see here we have these props. So those familiar with React probably you are familiar with these props because we are passing a property that then later is going to be catched by our app Svelte component here. So main.js, and you see here we have name and we set it to world. So if I go ahead and I type here, hello TWF peeps, and I save it, you can see that the property is being passed here. And later on our, let me go here and do this, format it properly. And we can see here our Svelte component. So let me explain you a little bit about the Svelte component here and how is the structure here. So here export let name. So this is catching like the property that we have been passing from the main.js here. And the same way we are going to use this if we have child components for Svelte. So I understand that it might be a little bit like confusing in the beginning if we'll have export to actually grab some information into our component. Like for example, in Angular we have the input directive that we pass the information to our child components, right? So in here with Svelte is actually we call export let name, and this basically makes, if you feel like it, you can call it that it makes our variable public, right? So and then as it is already common, right? We have hello and here string interpolation name. So basically here we are going to use the variable that was passed here and then simply show it in our HTML. So as you can see here, the Svelte component file, we have on the top, we have the script, which is basically our JavaScript, where the JavaScript goes, the style, where our styles will go, of course, and then we have our HTML. So it doesn't need to be like this, like everywhere else in this .svelte component file. If you will have your styles at first, or if you will have your HTML at first and then later, it doesn't matter so much like the order. Although if you use, oh, by the way, I actually forgot to mention that I'm using a Svelte extension for Visual Studio Code, which is basically this one, Svelte for VS Code. Great extension. It will help you a lot when you will try to build your Svelte apps. So I also have Svelte IntelliSense as well installed, and also Svelte 3 snippets. So these are like the ones that I'm been using here. So going back to our app. So it doesn't matter like the order that you do it, but once you format actually the file, it will automatically format the document, our file to be like this. That in the beginning we have our JavaScript, then we have our styles, and then we will have our markup. So basically that's it for now. So right now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to go ahead and create like I'm a big fan of like football and football players and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and create like a variable here called player. I'm actually go ahead and use a couple of I have another project here just to help me and to go a little bit more faster for you guys, right? If it's okay with you. And I'm going to go ahead and copy some information that I already have here. So I'm going to go ahead and set my variable to be first name Harry, last name Kane, and he's not actually from Manchester United, but he's from Tottenham, right? And I can actually remove the selected for now. It's not necessary anymore for us at the moment. So this, I can go ahead and remove this, and I will go ahead and, for example, go here, create a new div where I will actually type here my data, and I will go ahead. So I'll go to player, and I will go to first name, Harry, and I will go and here go to last name. And then, as you could see, like as I was typing, it was telling me that the properties of my player that I have here, and basically this is just string interpolation. So nothing to see here that we already seen before. So nothing very exciting. So what I'm going to go ahead right now is to go ahead and I'm going to create a second Svelte component, which I will call player details, and then we will pass on this player from our app Svelte to the player details component, right? And then we will show the data there. So I'm going to go ahead and go player details. Go ahead, player details dot Svelte, and oh yeah, yes, I'm looking at the chat. Yes, we can use TypeScript. Yes, there is. Svelte has support for TypeScript. It was already added. I think I don't know if it was in August or September, something like this. But yes, you can use TypeScript in your apps. Right now, I'm basically just using JavaScript as it was like my entry point. Yes, and the thing basically it works the same, but exactly the same with the benefits of TypeScript. So that's pretty cool. So here I'm going to go ahead and actually use one of the cool things about this extension that I have here, which is automatically create the Svelte component for me. So I have S component format, and automatically I have everything here ready to go. So I'm going to do export let player, and for now we don't want styles, we just want to have some markup. I will actually cut and copy my data that I have here. Yes, let me save my Svelte, and I'm going to go ahead and type player details. That's pretty much it. And automatically Svelte imports me the component of player details. This is pretty cool as well. Yeah, so right now I need to go ahead and pass my player information to the player details component. So the name that I gave it on the player details component, which is actually the same that I have in here. So if I save it, there you go, the player details are passing from one component to the other. I think this is also pretty straightforward. One cool thing is that if I go ahead and I format this document, I can just simply do like this. So if the variable name that we have in the player details component is the same that I'm actually the variable that I actually have here on the apps Svelte, we can just simply have it like this, like player. We don't need to have player equals player in this case. If I was going to go ahead and change this to like player details, yeah, I would need to then change everything here, and I would also need to say that here my player details is actually going to go to player. And I'm going to save this here, and there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it as player for us, which is much better here. So one of the key things also about Svelte and that it tries to do is like it wants us to write less code, and less code, it's always a good thing because less code, less bugs. It's as good developers as we can be, right? We will always make mistakes. The amount of bugs is proportional to the amount of code, of lines of code that we have in our code. It's always been like this, and it probably will always be. So yeah, So let's see. So we basically have a player details component. We are passing on the data that we have here. So right now I'm going to go ahead and actually have a list of players that I'm going to pass in. So I'm actually going to make another Svelte component called player list. That's Svelte. Yep, and there we go. And again, I'm going to use the Svelte component format. And right now we can start here by that we want to export that I will even call it my players, right? And then I'm actually gonna go ahead and grab, sorry, not this one. Go ahead and grab my players list that I have here. So I'm gonna pass this on. We don't have any more player details. So we will actually comment out for now the player details here. So, yep, again, he's not from Manchester United, he's from Tottenham. So now I have here a simple players list. I'm also going to remove this selected for now, or actually, let me keep this selected. It will probably later, I will use it anyway. Um, so players, my players. So I'm actually going to give it even the same name as I have here, players list. So, we can use less code and just have simply passing the information. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to players list, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pass my players list here. So now I need to basically iterate through this list of players, right? So another cool thing about this extension is we have this nice automatic syntax here for us. So each block. So this is how we iterate through like an array of objects or an array of items that we have in Svelte. Sorry. So this is the each directive here. So I'm going to go ahead and pass here my players list, which later I want to be has a player, and then you guessed it, I want to actually use the player details right here, right? Because this is where I actually want to go ahead and pass my players. So I'm going to go ahead and pass player. There you go. We have the names of our players. Looks a little bit, yeah, because like my Java, my HTML and styling skills are always super. Hurricane, there we go. We were actually, I'm gonna leave this like that. There we go, super cool. So this is how we iterate also as well from a list. Very simple, very clean code. In my opinion, like this is looks very sleek. I don't have, of course, a lot of data here, right? But in terms of like the syntax, also this is quite cool for people that, for example, are used to the backend. I think that with Svelte, people that are right now starting with the idea of starting with front end or things like that, or going into that direction, I think that Svelte can actually be a good entry point, because a lot of the syntax that, and I'm going to show you a couple of them later on. A couple of them are very similar also to C# syntax in a couple of ways. But we'll go there in very soon. So I'm just going to go ahead here on my players details, and I will also want to add some information here. I just want to have like my player. I know that is the team. There we go, and I'm actually showing the team here. So let me show you also one thing that I think that for me is super cool. And I'm doing a lot of styling lately, and I just took a project that basically had already huge amount of classes on the CSS files, and this is one of the cool things about Svelte that I really like. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the CSS, I have a CSS class called player item, and I don't know, let's go ahead and change the font family to Cambria, or maybe let me just go ahead and put the font weight, font style, font family. Gosh, I can't decide. Font height, let's go to semi-bold, or even actually bold. So I still didn't apply my style into my markup here, my HTML, right? And the cool thing about Svelte, unused TSX selector. So I don't know for you guys, but for me, like this is one of the nicest things ever because I can already detect if I have unused CSS classes into my styles. And this is pretty cool because then I can just go ahead and not be worried about deleting a class that actually was being used by, I don't know, another element that I just didn't realize it, right? So, but once I go ahead and, for example, I will apply the class here to my p tag, there you go, and the error goes away, or the warning goes away. So this is also one of the cool things about Svelte. So let's now go ahead. I'm actually going to format this. And I'm going to show you a little bit about events because I actually can go here, cursor pointer, and there we go. Then it looks much better like this. So one thing about the events here. So I'm going to go ahead and go, for example, do a click event. And what I'm going to do here is basically try to pass this event from this component up to the apps.svelte. All right. So I'm gonna show you how basically Svelte passes on from this lower level, like the more detailed component, to the upper ones. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to like this, basically like that. Or actually, I actually should also do like show you guys also how to do selection. Well, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will not. Just give me a second. As I'm going through my notes and see here. So yeah. So we have something then in Svelte that it's dispatching events. So I'm going to go ahead and do import create event dispatcher. And then later, I can create like a function, player selected, right? And then I'm going to pass my player, or actually, I'm going to call it selected player, right? And then I need to also do something like this. So const dispatch. So basically with the dispatch, this is going to help us to pass the event level up, right? So what I do here is basically call the dispatch, and then what I do is I pass on like the name of the message that it's going to be passed. In this case, it's message. And I'm gonna pass here some information that it's gonna go ahead and pass on to the upper level so it can actually react to it and do something with it, right? So gonna go ahead And I have here on my player's details. So I'm actually going to pass the selected player here. So what do we need to do on the other components to pass this one level up? So we need to handle it here on the players list. So then later, this is actually gonna go and go to the level up. So give me just a second. Just want to look at my notes here. And basically we do like, we have player details, we have a message, which is the name of our message that we're going to pass. So what we do here on the player details is basically this, on message. So on message, what this does is, if we don't handle this message here, because then we could, of course, handle the message here, and then we would have on the players list here, for example, if we would have here, I don't know, I can even do here something like another div, or actually after the list, and I will create like a selected layer, right? And then my function of select layer, there we go. So passing the value, and then in here we can even do a console log just to see if something is passing. And then I can go ahead and do selected player. This one here equals to the player that I'm passing here, right? There we go. And here my selected layer is, there we go. Oop, there we go. Okay. Actually, yeah, actually I'm not doing, I'm doing something wrong here. Give me a second. Okay. There we go. Passing the players list. Yes. Oh, there we go. Yes, this is what I'm not doing because I totally forgot. Sorry about that, guys. Player selected. So I have my passing my player here. So my selected player is undefined. Oh yeah, and I'm passing the object, so I actually need to pass my first name. Yep, I know it's undefined. So let's see. At least the message is being passed. Oh yeah, forgot about one thing. Sorry about that. So it actually, we need to go through here and do detail. So yeah, there we go. There we go. Sorry about that. You know, live demos, pressure is on. Well, but as you can see here, so basically I use this dispatch event to basically the click event that was raised in our place details component, passed it to the players list, and then on the players list we actually are handling here that same event, right? So now what if I want to handle this not actually at the players list level, but at one level more up, so on the apps.svelte here. So I can actually on this one do something like having a function to handle layer selected, right? Which I have here player. What I will do is alert first name. So yeah, I'm using JavaScript, but then later, of course, you guys can use TypeScript. No problem at all with that. I also after getting into Svelte and like checking even more stuff about this, then I will actually jump into TypeScript as I will be more familiar with the framework and things like that. But basically, using JavaScript is a way of me trying to, figure out a couple of the things and uh, that Svelte has, like using just plain JavaScript as well. So here, what we do is exactly the same thing on, and that's the message. And on message here, we do like handle player selected. So instead of here, I will just do on message, and there you go. It's undefined because I'm passing probably something not okay here. I will actually will go see what does my player object look like. So give me a second. Yeah, again, the details. Exactly. That's the problem. It's that player dot details dot first name. Yeah, because the thing is that when the message is done, like Svelte wraps it into the details variable, and then I need to access it and so on. First name. Well, seems that first name is undefined. Well, all right. Let me have a look at that again. So first name is here. So let me do this like that. The details is actually the undefined. It's quite weird. And anyway, I'm probably doing something wrong here, but I also see that, Jesus, I'm going pretty slow for the pace. So what I'm going to do is I actually going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys my already done solution, and then you guys can later have a look also at the GitHub and how things work and so on. But I just want to also show very quickly here on like the players list. This element here, I want to just show the div when I actually have a player selected. So in this case, this is why it was even throwing me before an error before I added this condition here. So if I go ahead and I will do an if block, I can go ahead and then put my data in here. And this is how the if blocks look like in Svelte. And then if my player is selected, then I'm going to show it. By the way, I need to stop this for now. I need to go ahead and handle the message here on this one. And I'm going to be back again at handling the message here. There we go, and it works fine. Yeah, that's it. Now I'm going to go and I'm actually going to show you guys the other app that I actually have here running on Svelte, which is this one. So I'm going to go minimize this one, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this one right here. Hope that's okay for you in terms of like visualization. So I have a list here that I've made also with players. And this is actually, I built this on my reactivity component. So I have also like a players list, which I showed you before. Harry Kane, for some reason, wants to be on Manchester United. And then I'm going to go ahead and like go step by step on the things that I implemented here. So I have also an each block here with players list as players. And then when I select my player, it turns to blue. So one of the cool things about Svelte and about its reactivity, it's, for example, this $sign directive or declaration here. So what this does with the $sign here, and this is one of the things I actually wanted to show you guys, is that everything that is on the right-hand side of the $sign, Svelte understands it as being reactive. So we need to react to any changes that happen to show selected players here. So as you can see here, this console log is showing false right now because it actually binded to my input or my checkbox here. So how binding is working is also like this. So in Svelte, we have a label and we have an input, and then basically we bind to our variables that I have here, show selected player, here on the top that I initialized to false. We bind just like that. And bind checked is like a property of the input or of the input tag, and it binds to the show selected players. So one of the cool things about this is that basically you can use this to debug. So every time that I'm, toggling my checkbox, I'm going to change it to true and false, and automatically Svelte does a console log for me with the value of the show selected players variable, right? So another thing I also have here is that this is to show basically a list of my selected players that I've made here, which is like a filtered list. So it's a list of all these players that I have here, but the ones only that are selected. So I also have here, very similar to what I used before, niche that goes through all my players. Also, an if that I'm not going to show this if I don't have the show selected players turned on. So as you can see here, I have selected players, and as I'm clicking on them, basically Svelte manages my filtered list and updates my filtered list. How does it do that? So like this. So this is my filtered list, right? It's declared under the $sign here, which makes it reactive. So I have a condition that when I have my show selected players variable true, then I'm going to filter my players list by the players that are selected. And if not, I'm going to return the players list. So then when I click on the players, when I do an event on click on the players, basically what happens is I change, let me just format this, there we go. I need to actually change my array of players in here, like this. Because if we are going to change properties that are basically inside of an array, it's not going to be, the change is not going to be reflected in Svelte. What I mean by that, so you see, I'm going to change the player.selected property here, but to change it, I need to actually do this playlist.map, where I'm going to go through my list, detect which was the player that I actually selected here, and then actually return a whole new object in place of the player, right? And this is what is happening here. So this is one example I wanted to show you. So now I want to show you actually another one that I have here, which is with promises, because I know that this is probably one of the most important things here. And I did one here that I am going to show you guys. So with images and everything. So what do I have here? Let me go through this very slowly as I see already that we are going through the time, but I'm going to try to be brief. So I have here a function that I made that basically is retrieving me data from a JSON file that I have here. So I have here my players data.json, where I have all the information about my players, and then I here basically this is just it's making like mocking me an API call. Yes, but then later I'm just going to go give it like a random delay, just so you guys can see more or less how Svelte is handling this. So this is my fetch players data. basically this is a promise, right? So what do I do then later? So we can store the fetch players data promise. I actually store this into the players promise variable here, right? And then what I do on Svelte is a syntax like this. So we have the await, then, and catch syntax here, which is actually pretty good because how do we do this? So we have the promise. While we don't have the promise yet resolved, we are going to show to the user something on the UI, which is showing loading. And then once it's resolved, then we are showing our players data. And if there is an error or for some reason like we didn't manage to catch the data, we also can show the error here on the catch error in the Svelte component. Yes, in here. So this is a very, as you can see, like, I don't know about you. I wish I actually had a little bit more time to go into these things very slowly and that I didn't need to go rush into this. But you guys can actually take a look at this repo and that I have here, which actually has a fetch players data which actually throws an error here. And then later you can see that it shows you the handling the errors as well. There's a lot of things on this demo here that actually might be quite useful in a real world example, right? So yeah, for me actually the best thing is really about the reactivity and how these things can actually change just so easily. We don't need to go ahead with like observables and subscriptions and things like that. So and things like this. So um, right now, what else do I wanted to show you? Like, yes, you also have in Svelte lifecycle events. So you also have on mount. I think it's pretty similar to React, and also on destroy. The same. It works the same way as it does on the others. We unsubscribe from our observables or promises. You know, subscribe from them on the on destroy and on the mount. We can on mount we can try to load our data and things like that. We also have one thing that I actually want to show you, and for that I'm actually going to go ahead and use the links that I have here from the Svelte playground. So, which is state management. So this is one of the examples that you guys can go ahead and go to the Svelte website and take a look at. The examples are super nice. Like this is really, really, really nice to check out. So it doesn't happen anything at the moment, but state management is quite easy in here. We don't. in my opinion, is not as complex as, for example, using NGRX on Angular or using Redux in React. So basically, we have here on increment that I'm going to go ahead and copy this one here. And then when I go to reset, I'm going to reset this. And on the decrement, I'm going to update my count to -1. Yep. And there we go. And this is working. So I just want to go through this and this example, because I think this was very simple example instead of like using players and passing them some information on them. So basically we have here a store, and the store, we make it writable, which means that this store is actually, we can write things on it. And then we can update things and set values on things. So we have this variable count that then later, whichever components we are going to use it in, we are going to change it. So on the incrementer, what we do is on the button click, we use the count from our stores, and basically we increment the value +1. And the same thing we do on the decrement, we make it +1. And on the resetter, and this is the thing, this is the method, just simply count.update and it updates the value of the count for us. And the resetter basically just sets the value to 0. And there you go, and it works, and it's quite simple and easy, and not a lot of code, to be honest. So one last thing in the demo here, because before I go back to the slides and I finish off, is not the hello world, but I wanted to show you a couple of things here on the. So Svelte basically, and this is actually on the assignments here. If I go ahead and I go to my results, and I'm gonna show you guys just one quick thing. How Svelte basically handles this changes, like where is this change is happening, right? So this is a very quick example of the reactivity. It's the first one you guys will face in the beginning, and when I do click, basically what I'm going to do, what I do is change the count to +1. So how does Svelte compiler handles this? How he does it? So the handle click is wrapped around this invalidate. And basically, this is how Svelte is implementing, in a higher level, of course, implemented this reactivity. It invalidates the value of count, and then later it updates it. So it knows that on the compile time, it prepares the our app to say that watch out, count it's a variable that actually is being assigned there, and the value is going to change. So please be aware of it and update it whenever the handle click happens. And this is it. And this happens on each tick, on each instruction that the browser is going to handle. So yeah, so this is like a very rough overall view of Svelte. I hope I could at least made you a little bit interested on the development of Svelte. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue with the presentation. I just have a couple more links that I want to show you, and then I will jump into questions that you guys for sure have. So things about Svelte, less code, as we see, like much less code comparing to the others. It's faster as well, as you can compare the results and with other frameworks and check. Smaller. You don't need to worry so much about the bundle size. What I mean by this is because basically when we build and we prepare our apps to go to the next level and to be published, our bundle size is actually going to be smaller because there's not so many things that we need to pass on to the browser. So component level basically requires compilation. So this is a quite awesome thing because in Svelte, each component that is going to be built, when it's bundled, it doesn't take all the features of Svelte. So basically, if we are not using bindings on a component, Svelte is not going to go ahead and make that feature available for that component because it's a compiler, and in compile time it can make all the hard work for you and detect if it's really needed, that feature or not, right? So another thing I want to shout out is, like, if you guys are interested in like building, because this example that I just gave to you, it's not so good for like real world applications, let's say. So Svelte has Sapper, which right now is actually updated, and this is one of the things that it's not so good about having a very small, young web framework, is that it's changing. It's rapidly changing, right? So Sapper is a web application framework by Svelte. So it includes a bunch of things like router and all these things that you expect to have on an application framework like Angular and also Next.js and Gatsby. You can have a look at that. Now the team is actually going to drop Sapper and go into SvelteKit because some things that they decided that they were not doing so well, and they decided to update this. So if you want to also look at routing, I recommend going to use this router library that Emil Tollin did for Svelte. This is the link for the VS Code extension. This is also another Svelte example that our colleague Ewan actually worked on. He was the first one that represented Svelte in Avanade, and it got me hooked into Svelte. So go ahead and check out his example. He has a very awesome slideshow that he did in Svelte. And this is my GitHub repo that you guys can later on go ahead and check the example that I'm going to publish very, very soon. If not today, I'm going to publish tomorrow or something like this. So sorry about this. Over the time, I'm going to go ahead and check the to check the questions that you might have. So I actually have two questions that I need to ask you guys. So that the team from the way forward they asked me to ask. So the first question is actually when the version 3 of Svelte was released, and the second question is what are for you the best advantages of using TypeScript that I didn't use in this presentation. So answer these two questions right now in the chat. And the team is going to check out, which one is are the best ones and which ones are correct, and also the first ones. And you can win actually some books. So yeah, go ahead. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to go and see if there is any questions that you might have. Okay, I see one question. Thank you for also the questions. So how do you use state management in Svelte? So yeah, state management in Svelte was basically using the stores. Like I showed you guys, I just showed you a very rough example of this one, right? But I really believe that this very quick example and simple one was at least gave you some idea of how simple it is that we just have one file of star.js that we set there our variables that then later are going to be used throughout our app. So I also see you used scope CSS. Can you use less SAS CSS? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can use other types of CSS and also check other CSS frameworks that are, for example, Tailwind and things like this. I think those are being supported also in Svelte. So check those one out. But yes, you can use less and the other things as well. It will work fine. You will have no issues at all. One thing that I also should say is that about the CSS. So the CSS styles that you apply on a component, they're not going to be applied to like the child component or the parent component or whatever. No, the styles are going to keep them each to be applied in each component itself, right? So let me see if I see other. I will move scrolling up. Yes, Svelte uses JavaScript modules. Yes, you can actually use a couple of other modules that are being used. For example, Moment.js, go ahead, you can use them. There's no issue with that. I didn't test many of them, to be honest with you, but I believe that you, especially the JavaScript ones, it should be no problem at all, because at the end of the day, Svelte compiles your code to plain vanilla JavaScript. That's the cool part about it. That's why it's so performant. That's why it's so small as well. It's just it's really cool. Is created component, do we have any encapsulation web components maybe? Yes, we do. We do have encapsulation between our components. Yes, yes, yes. Can we implement server-side rendering code split in Svelte without XML elements? Yes, we can actually server-side rendering with Svelte. And one of the cool things about it is actually that people people that are usually nowadays, we use a lot of like um, AWS, Azure, and all these kind of things, and we sometimes rely a lot on the processing power of these machines, and this costs us and our clients money, right? So with Svelte, you can do server-side rendering. There's no problem in that, and also code splitting. Actually, that's one of the things that Rich Harris actually tells us to do. Please do code splitting. Um, so yeah, so with Svelte, actually, though your server-side rendering and the processing that it will take will be smaller and it will be faster. So less money, you know, win-win. So I can see that Bartosz Bartosz Skupian. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. So you got it right on the first question of the version 3 release. That's exactly correct. So you're the first one, I think, to get it right. Yes. And is there any support for progressive web apps? Oh, that's a good question. I didn't check about progressive web apps, but I know for sure, and I can even show you guys. So Svelte native. So Svelte native is actually using native script, and this is what usually some people are already using this and trying to maintain it. Yes, to do mobile apps and things like that. But progressive web apps, I'm not 100% sure about that. Sorry, I actually need to check about this. Actually, in my current project, I'm actually kind of progressive web app in Angular. So yeah, I need to check that out for Svelte. But good question. Yeah, that's a good one. I will also check it myself. All right. Anything about mobile implementation support? Yeah. So there you go. Also this one about mobile. Um, yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. What I wanted to show you guys. Sorry, we didn't have a lot of time. I really wanted to take a little bit more time to like go through the demo, but there's so many things cool about Svelte that I didn't manage. I hope I could manage to at least get you interested in it with my code example later with the players and showing the images and so on. So yeah, um, that's it. I think that um, now I need my colleagues of the Way Forward meetup. Can we already decide on the winner for the question number 2 or no? How can I select the winner, or we will ping the winner later? Because yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to do this right now. But yeah, well, guys, thank you very much. Then I'm gonna go ahead and pause the stream here. I think this will be available later on for you guys to check it out and go through the process one more time. I will upload my code to GitHub pretty soon because right now it's in a private repo. You can go ahead and go there and then later check out these examples that I've worked myself out. And yeah, thank you very much, everyone that is here watching. I really appreciate you guys taking time to look at the Portuguese guy, show you a little bit of code and also failing a little bit on the demo when it was failing there. I didn't know why some values, but yeah, like coding for live audience is not easy. Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you very much again. I appreciate you. If you guys have any questions, please shoot me out an email as well. I will try to answer as well. And yeah, thank you very much. See you guys. Bye bye.